You can bring this meeting to order. The Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
First item of business is everybody had a chance to review the minutes from the previous meeting. Are there any additions or corrections to be made?
I'll move to accept the minutes of the last meeting.
We have a motion on the floor. Second, is moved and seconded. All those in favor of accepting the minutes as printed, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Is there any mail? Anybody have any mail? If not, we'll move on to our county attorney. Mr. Rappel.
I don't think I have anything to present right now unless any of you have any questions or concerns that need to be brought to my attention.
Anybody have anything for Chris? All right. If not, we'll move on to reports. Thanks, Chris. We don't have a commissioner representative here, so move on to committee reports. Budget and Wage Committee, is there anything to report?
Still working on the reports.
Okay. Mr. Strong.
Well, as you know, the Budget and Finance Committee did complete its report, and it's been passed out to everyone. I don't know if you've had a chance to look at it or not. I know that Mark and Mike and I have seen plenty of it. I don't know if you want to just read it yourself and digest it and ask questions later, or you want me to read it to you now?
I think you ought to go ahead and read it for the public.
Well, I intend to pass a copy of this to the newspaper reporter. If he shows up this evening, if he doesn't, sometime later, but I can go through it and read it if that's council's pleasure.
I think you should.
It's cool.
We could, or we can, I mean, it'll probably be printed in the paper. It's up to you. I think it's awful. I don't know if you want to go over the highlights, whatever highlights there are.
Well, okay, I'll highlight it here. This report that we prepared takes a look back at our fiscal year 2013 and what happened last year as a result of the budget cuts that council made in an attempt to balance the county's general fund. So all the figures and language contained in this two-page report is specific to the county's general fund only, because that's where we've been in trouble for some time. So very quickly, at the close of business on December 31st, 2013, the official record of the county auditor showed that the ending balance of the county's general fund decreased from a beginning balance of $1,545,702.73 to an ending balance of $1,139,836.55, a deflect of $405,866.18. In simple terms, here's what happened in 2013. For the first half of 2013, our income versus expense ratio looked good enough to project a $74,000 surplus by year's end. Now here's what happened to change that projection. And following is a list of the additional appropriations that we made in 2013 that affected the county's general fund. $64,928 for the reinstatement of a probation officer that we did not budget for, that we had taken out of the budget and the budget hearings for 2013. $141,000 increase in liability insurance cost that was, of course, unforeseen. $3,000 part-time clerical for the treasurer's office, $2,500 to the coroner's office, the coroner's expenses, because if you remember the large number of autopsies and things that she was having expenses for. $15,900 for jail medical expenses, $6,000 for jail supplies, $21,000 for the Cedar Bridge contract that involved the probation department. If you remember Jenna being in here for that. And $130,060.21 advance payment to the Anthem Insurance Company for January of 2014. Also, $21,477.97 of miscellaneous unappropriated costs. That included insurance claims, tax sale costs, interest, and state call meeting expenses for a total of $405,866.18. Now, here it's important to note that the advance payment to Anthem in December of 2013 of $130,060.21 was recaptured to the general fund in January of 2014 because the change of insurance companies required an advance payment for January, and we were not billed again until February. Considering that one-time billing skip, if you subtract the $130,060.21 to Anthem in December from our year-end deflict of $405,866, it is fair and reasonable to compute our real 2013 deflict at $275,805.97. Now, while this is an improvement over our 2012 deflict of $530,209.25, we're still deflict spending and cash reserves are running dangerously low. We have so far not been successful in reducing spending at the rate that we are losing revenue. Below is a list of the property tax revenue, to the county general and lost property tax revenue, I meant to say, to county general in 2013. The impact on the general fund, and the general fund only, for the state-imposed tax caps or circuit breakers was $546,856.98. Our delinquent or uncollected property taxes for 2013 was $292,987.99, and the outstanding or tax abatements to businesses that are currently in force impacted the county's general fund by $46,512.35 for a total lost revenue of 2013 $866,357.32. Now that's a pretty hard hit for as strapped as we are. It's a pretty hard hit, I'd say. As you can see from the above figures, the circuit breaker losses alone caused County General to lose money in 2013. These lost property tax revenues are directly linked to the deflict balances for 2013, as well as the high tax rates that we currently levy. And it's not reckless spending on our part that we're in this condition, because I think we can all agree we are not recklessly spending. Here's a common question that you will hear. What about the 2013 budget cuts to the County General that eliminated 11 job positions as well as reduced services provided by the county? Didn't that have an impact on our financial problems? And the short answer is yes, but not enough. So the county council, when they set the 2013 budget, we actually reduced the 2013 requested budgets by $1,452,708, which would have been more than enough to bring the budget into balance, were it not for the additional appropriations of over $275,000 in 2013. Even with additional reductions to the 2014 budget, we have already borrowed $600,000 from our Cume Bridge Fund this year to meet our expenses before our June tax draw. We just did this recently. And thanks in large part to the cooperation of the county commissioners, an additional $237,873 of edit tax is being used to supplement the general fund this year in 2014. The commissioners are also negotiating diligently right now to bring our liability insurance costs back to normal, but the seemingly never-ending litigation that the county currently seems to face seems to continually threaten their efforts to get those costs under control. The associated costs of an overpopulated jail also continues to stress the jail budget beyond limits. The highway, health, cemetery, E911 departments are stable, but there is cause for concern for our ability in the future to meet our obligations for the emergency first aid service agreement with the city, which is paid from county general funds. It is also important to acknowledge the extra efforts that our office holders, department heads, and employees are faced with every day, and how much we appreciate their patience and understanding in our mutual struggle to deal with the consequences of this difficult period of our history. At mid-year, we will have a better snapshot of our progress and/or our specific problems to be addressed in our next budget hearings coming up in August. This summary is not all-inclusive, but it is becoming more apparent that we will never be able to simply cut our way to prosperity and still provide essential services without exploring avenues to increase our streams of revenue while still holding down the cost of operations. And this report is respectfully submitted by the Budget and Finance Committee, myself, Councilman Nobby, and Councilman Winnup. In order to include all the information that is pertinent to this report would have taken much more than 2 pages, but that's a brief summary. As time goes by, if anyone has any questions or comments about that, direct it to any member of the committee. We'll do our very best to answer your questions. And we're going to release this to all the county office holders and employees as well, so they have some explanation as to what our actions in 2013 actually had on the county general budget. So that's my report, sir.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Councilman Strong for chairing the Budget Committee and for taking the time and effort to put this report together. I know it's bothered you couldn't get out a little sooner, but I know you wanted to be accurate and as detailed as possible in doing this. Councilman Strong and I had a conversation today. I think one of the things we're going to do as a Budget Committee, a little different than the years past, is we're going to, and Debbie has already drafted a letter together that we're going to request a meeting with the department heads to talk about how 2013's budget impacted them, the decisions that we made as a council, and see if there's some things that we can change or do a little differently. I think one of the difficult things that we have to do as a council is not working in their departments and not working, you're doing the tasks that they have to do on a daily basis, the decisions we make, how that impacts them, and hear back from them, and then also open up a two-way dialogue whereby they can understand why we made the decisions that we made too. And maybe we can come to a middle ground, because we do have to find a way to conserve money and to use it wisely in the best way possible without diminishing services or efforts by our county personnel. In the meantime, we have to try to find ways to get them back to a respectable cost of living that I think we have a hard time with that as well. So again, thank you to Councilman Strong for doing that.
Okay, one other thing, Mr. President, I would like to draw particular attention to everyone on the front page. Look at how those additional appropriations total up, and look at the impact they have. And while I know everyone that comes in asking for an additional appropriation really doesn't think that the amount they're asking for is that much, but you see how quickly it adds up and what the end result is.
Kind of like your credit card bill.
It's sort of like a credit card bill, yeah. That during the course of a year, these things really do add up. So,
Councilman Nabi, did you have something else you had your hand?
Yeah, I think we need to thank the auditor too for helping put this report together, because without her help, we couldn't do it.
oh, absolutely. I couldn't have pulled all these numbers together without Debbie's help. Thank you very much for all the time you spent with me on this.
That makes sense. No, that doesn't make sense. No, you can't say that.
You're as happy to have me out of the office for a while as I am, I guess.
Does anybody else on the council have more questions for Councilman Strong? If not, we'll move on to unfinished business. Is there any unfinished business that we need to address at last month's meeting? Okay. We will move on to new business. Mr. Caldwell, you're on stage.
Dale is a really tough act to follow, but that's how it is. I think I passed out a copy of the letter I wanted to present here. What I'm coming to you for is, I hate to use this term, additional appropriations, specifically for a cover crop program that the Soil and Water Conservation District is pushing. We've got, I haven't got this in this letter, but our goal is, we've got a 5-year goal. We want to get, we want to have a vigorous cover crop incentive program to entice people to use, not just, if you look at the the contract that we are asking people to sign, the thing that will trigger whether they get it or not is whether they're trying something different, something new that they haven't done before. Because when you say cover crop, you're not just talking about one thing. You're talking about a lot of different practices, seeding rates, timings, all those things. It takes a lot of learning and practice to get this done right. And we're encouraging people who want to help them try something new so that they'll get it in practice. And our 5-year goal, after we help incentivize people to try these things and put on field days to teach them how to do it, is to get 25% of the land that's feasible for cover crops in cover crops. If we get to that point in 5 years, then either everybody is using this program or they have a neighbor that is. And we won't need to promote it anymore. We won't need to have to tell people about it. They can go ask their neighbor and see how it works. So we get it to that point, we'll be in good shape. And people will know how to use them right and wrong. Mr. Flum, you mentioned that there's problems with cover crops. Certainly there are in handling other problems on the farm. That's part of what we want to help go to. I'm also on the cemetery board. And this afternoon I was out in the middle of a cornfield at the Sutcliffe Cemetery. It's a little small six or so grave cemetery, pioneer cemetery in the middle of a cornfield in Waterloo Township. It's about 6 to 12 inches higher than the rest of the field. And that's because we're losing soil. And if we're losing soil, we're losing productivity. And if we're losing productivity in the long run, we're losing tax base. So that's part of what cover crops can help us do, is keep that soil there and build up the productivity of it. So I'm hoping you can find a way to not just hopefully this year. I know how I know what you're facing, you've made it very clear. This year, and for budgeting for the subsequent 5 years, to help us support this program, I'm asking for $2,400 a year. We'll be doing that too, so we'll be matching that. If you can do that, then the Clean Water Indiana Act will also match it. So we'll have a pretty good funding for this program. And in the long run, it's something the county needs and can be very beneficial to us, not just for quality of life, but for our actual value of the county. Mr. Flum, a couple of sessions ago, Dan Parker, right? Dan Parker was here introducing himself, and the subject of the quality of water came up. And I think in relation to the possibility of a beer manufacturer coming here, or anyone that needs good, clean water, and we've got it. But if we're competing with some of the other counties in the Whitewater Valley watershed, on the basis of clean water, we're the only ones that are not qualified to receive funds from Clean Water Indiana right now. All the other counties in the watershed do because they're in programs like this. So I hope you can find a way to help us. Hope you can find a way to fund. If not this year, find a way to get it in the budget for the subsequent 5 years so that we can have this program completed.
Dave, I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
Have you, I don't know how you go about this, but since this here, well, of course it benefits everybody, but it basically benefits farmers. Is there a way that we can somehow, I don't know what it would take on a state level, whatever, where we have withhold a few cents per bushel, corn and beans, and apply and use that money to try to fund things like this? I don't know.
Like it's done with cattle and milk, that sort of thing.
Well, in crops, what they did several years ago, they, I can't remember the technical name, but it was when they held money for corn and beans.
The checkoff?
Yeah, checkoff. And they used that money to research new products. They could, come up with the soybeans. That's how soy diesel came about. And the same thing with corn. They used it, and corn, they make ethanol out of it. They also make plastics out of corn. And that all came from that checkoff, and it was so many cents a bushel that was, that went towards that. I don't know if something like this can be set up to do things like this or not, a checkoff. And I don't know what that would take to fund, to get that going, but maybe that's some way that
Maybe it exists, I really don't know.
because, if you take just a few cents, a couple cents of all the bushels that's raised in this county, that amounts up to a lot of money. So, you might, I don't know if you'd have to check that.
Never
maybe
thought of
like-
that, but yeah, that would
Like
certainly
the
amount to a
state
lot.
with Gene Lysings or somebody to see how, how did we set that up? How do we possibly look at that? And, a couple of cents is not gonna hurt anybody on a bushel of corn or a bushel of beans, in my opinion. And that would
A
amount to a
couple
lot
cents
of
would
money.
do it.
Yeah. So, okay.
I've never thought of that, but I'll sure find out if we could do it in some way. Shirley?
Well, and on the other side of that equation, I think that's a good suggestion, but perhaps, and I don't know how, but we could access the folks that are doing this checkoff, and in some instances, there still are active
Yeah.
checkoffs,
Yeah.
to see if this program would qualify for access to some of those funds that are already being accumulated.
That's true.
So there's probably a battle for those funds, but, I feel pretty strongly that cover crops are important, and lost soil productivity is something we can't afford to let happen. And, it's the farmers in this community are trying to hold up the rest of the community because their taxes have seen increases, whereas the others have been capped. So, but, perhaps we can investigate that as well.
I will, thank you.
Probably start there with the manager over at Consolidated and he might be able to give you guidance on who you might contact through
We,
that.
we can do that pretty easily. He's now a member of our board.
That's right.
Keith
Yeah,
Merrill.
yeah. That's true. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, because that's, he, you know, it's helping farmers, and that's what he's in, that's what he's in.
Okay.
Farming
Good idea.
end of the
Thank you.
thing, so, okay.
I'd rather get it from that than from you, but if I can get it from both, that's even better.
There you go.
Would you like to volunteer to work with Mr. Caldwell? And
Yeah, I'll work with him.
Thank you.
Contact with him.
Thank you.
Okay.
David, a quick question.
Yes, sir.
How much, if any, participation do we have in Fayette County right now with cover crops?
We did $3,000 last year at $500 per person that signed up. And so we had 6 people. Union County did the same thing last year, and they had 22. I know that, you know, we expanded our budget. We blew everything that we had on it. We had all the people sign up. We didn't have any money left over, so I'm sure that we can get many more than that. What I'm proposing here would result in 15 or 18 participants. That'd be a lot. I'd like to say Union County, which is smaller, had 22 last year. So I'd like to,
Do you have any idea how much acreage is involved there?
I should have been ready for that question because the contracts had that on there. I'm sorry, I don't.
Well, I didn't intend to put you on the spot. I was
Well,
just curious.
I don't know. I don't
Okay.
have that. Off the top of my head, I can get that number from the ones that participated with us, and I'm sure Union County will share it with us too because they share our office. But, yeah, that would be good to know because our target is to have this practice well distributed through the county so that it'll be self-sustaining. You know, at one time, no-till and minimum tillage and those kind of practices were new, and they had to have the same kind of a startup, and after a lot of people used them and saw the results, then the rest of the people bid in, and now there's almost nothing out there that's not some kind of limited tillage operation. And that's good thing. Cover crops are the same kind of progress.
Sure is, especially since we're not blessed in Fayette County with 4 feet of topsoil like they are out in Iowa.
Yeah, that's right. That's right, we need to keep what we've got.
Yeah.
Well,
Just, Dave and I was talking right before the meeting. One of the concerns about cover crop is some of the weeds, new weeds that are developing are becoming resistant to sprays, and they can be very harmful to crop yields if not controlled. Well, the #1 defense on that is to spray in the fall. Well, when you spray in the fall, you pretty much kill the cover crop idea. But that's what Dave said, they're working to try to see how they can work together and try to work around some of those things.
that's part of the learning experience that
Yes.
we'll be supporting. Besides just getting people to try various practices, we'll have field days and avenues to information that'll help with that kind of thing. You know, once upon a time, we didn't do cover crops, we plowed everything. And we
Yes.
did that to control weeds.
That's right, that's right. You're
And that led
absolutely
to a
right.
lot of erosion. Well, now we need to control the weeds without having a lot of erosion or spraying if we can avoid it.
That's true. Okay.
Okay, well, please, I'll be coming back at you about future budgeting. I hope you can find a way to work that in, and if you can find a way to do something this year, it'd be a big help. So, because the Clean Water Indiana Act, clean water funding will only, they'll match funds that come from the county. If I got something from a checkoff, Clean Water won't match that. Okay, so that has to come from the county to get that matched by Clean Water.
Okay.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Caldwell.
Thank you.
Next up, Library Rainy Day Fund, Anne Marie.
We're here to ask approval for an additional appropriation for our rainy day fund. The rainy day fund actually comes from our own savings at the library, but because you are our fiscal body, you'll need to review and approve that. According to the Indiana Code 6-1.1-1, 17-20D, if the library board proposes to make an additional appropriation for a year, and the additional appropriation would result in the budget for the library for that year increasing as compared to the previous year by a percentage that is greater than the result of the assessed value growth quotient determined under Indiana Code 6-1.1-18.5-2 for the calendar year -1, the additional appropriation must first be approved by the, in our case, county council, by our fiscal body. So, the amount that we're asking, which is in our rainy day fund, and we would just simply transfer it out of our rainy day fund. We would use it from our rainy day fund, and it's for building and renovation, basically for our skylights and our roof. It would be $262,110.
So what kind of work is being done?
They're replacing the skylights, which are beginning to deteriorate and leak. And while they're doing that, they're going to have to repair the roof or replace the roof.
Sure. What's happening to the skylights when they're being replaced?
Mm-hmm.
So what's being done with them once they're replaced? Where are they going?
They will be removed. I'll let Mike address that.
Well, the skylights themselves, they'll go into a scrap. The scrap will be held available for sale to the public. But it will be not placed on the library premise because of liability issues, but in a designated area that we've contracted with, and will be up to the public to take bid or do bid on it, determine whether or not you want it. That will be sold. The proceeds will go back into the library fund.
Okay. Sounds good. Good idea.
Well, I can add a little bit to that, if you two don't mind.
Please, go right ahead.
I serve on the library board with Mike, and Anne Marie gets to spend some quality time with us
Absolutely.
periodically. But we, help me here, Mike, how old is our current roof? Can you remember?
I know that it would be at least, and I was trying to figure this out when we talked to Gary Smith, our attorney, it's at least 15 years old.
Longer than that.
Is it?
It's longer than that.
How long
I've been
is
there
it?
since 97. It's probably
Since
more than 20 years
97.
old.
Yeah.
You know, it is at a point where it's absolutely deteriorated. It's got a stone roof. There's new advances in roof design now, which the new roof will far outlast the current roof.
And this roof that's on the building now, too, it's a tar and gravel type roof, right, Mark?
That's correct.
And we intend to replace it with a Firestone rubber roof that weighs much less.
No
and
stone,
is
yeah. There'll be
more-
no stone applied.
more practical, especially if you need to make a repair.
If it's a 30-year, 90 mil roof too also.
30-year, 90 mil.
30-year.
Is it black?
Yeah,
White.
black.
Would you guys consider doing white to help reduce the heating costs or the cooling costs?
We discussed that, and Mark might be able to better speak to that than I can. We have Bob Cloyd, who manages all the maintenance for the school department, their school system, helps us at the library making these decisions. And we seem to be right on the borderline in latitude, whether we're better off with a black roof or a white roof. If we were further south, we would be better off with a white roof because it's a warmer climate. But you get up to our area, you're probably 60% or more advantage to having a black roof in order to conserve, hold heat in the wintertime rather than reflect heat off in the summertime. But that was discussed with the board, and it was their professional recommendations that we stay with black roof.
Okay. I just know what the trend in this area is going, is white roofs for that fact, less heating in there, less cooling in the summer and
Summer,
and the
yes.
early fall. So just a question I was, yeah.
And if, I'd also add that we are using local contractors for this job. And
They were the low bid in both cases.
yeah, Shumway and Sons will be doing the work for us. They were considerably lower than the competitors that bid on the job for us too. And if anyone is wondering why, I guess this deserves some explanation as to why is the library board here asking the county council for permission to additional appropriation money that they already have. The simple answer is the library board is a non-elected taxing unit of the county. So that makes us a subservient board because we're non-elected.
Yeah, we don't.
And according to the DLGF's rules, if we have to spend more money than our approved budget, we got to get county council's approval on that first. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, Anne Marie, the DLGF itself has to sign off on
Right, and
our action.
what they will do is look to see if we have funds within our funds, if within our reserve, if we have the money and the savings that we can spend, which we do.
Anne Marie, after you do this project, how much money will you still have in there?
I think this is approximately half, isn't it? So
How much?
it's about half. We'll have about that much
Okay.
more still left
Okay.
in the fund.
I've got a question now. Is the library considered a county asset?
No, well,
I think it's an asset.
well, for sure, not in the same way. You mean you as a governing board of ours? No, they're standalone. However, like Dale said, we would have went from being a non-binding review, the council would have, if they had put this in their budget at the time, it would have becoming a binding review instead of a non-binding review, based on that they would have went over what the growth quotient was.
Correct.
And that was the cap for it being a binding review or a non-binding review. So they were subject to a non-binding review, but they didn't have this in their budget at the time. So because basically that's what threw them into coming to us, and they went through the same advertising and replaced the ad in the paper for the additional, just like we do our additionals. And then I have a resolution for you to sign, just like it's our resolution, except I say it's for the library's budget. But it's, like he said, it's the fact that they do not have an elected board, they have an appointed board, so, and it's tax monies, so it has to go through. My question was, and I can call if I need to get the exact amount in your fund, because, well, there's several, well, I think I sent you what that certified copy of the additional was. And the other thing, it was $262,110, because I put 100, so I was gonna short you $10.
Holy cow. Take it out of Dale's paycheck.
There you go. Take it out of my library salary.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what that'd be.
Yeah.
I'll make an adjustment on that.
I'd also
They got the money.
like to share with the council that the library board had been saving their nickels and dimes for projects like this for a long time. They're a very conservative group. Would that be a fair statement, Mike?
It would be. I think, we were faced, when I came on the library board 4 years ago, we were faced with a crunch of employment. I mean, we had to look at the library and create a budget. And with that, we created a reduction in force too, by 15%, I believe. What we wanted to do was, all these years, the library has constantly tried to maintain a budget, but it wasn't a written budget. We created a written budget. We reduced the staff. And what we wanted to do was, we knew that the libraries throughout the state, there are many of them that no longer exist. That was during a time when they're spending more money than they should have, and they wanted to maintain that same standard of living and expenses to the cities in Indiana. And a number of very good libraries closed because of financial difficulties. We wanted to avoid that because at our public library, that is an absolute joy to have. It is something a community needs. It's well maintained, and we can live with a smaller budget, with a smaller group of people, and still maintain a series of good services to our community. I call this the jewel of Connersville, Indiana. We have a library that's self-sustaining. It holds itself together, and it has a reserve that it can fall back on in case of any financial difficulty we have. So this library will be around for a long time based on the structure that it was put together, with Anne Marie as the director and Melissa Scott as the assistant director. They worked very hard to maintain that level of service. We knew for a long time that we needed a new roof, and for a number of years our repair was more than that. They pretty much went up and sealed and repaired, and you could see that in the review that you were looking at on those years. And we kept putting aside the fact that we needed a new roof. So it's come to the time now that we pretty much have to spend that money to get the new roof in place. And our 5-year strategic business plan, we're just looking at the possibilities of understanding what the community needs as far as services are concerned, and possibly put an expansion on that building. But we would like to go after a grant to chase that. The money that we have in reserve right now could be set aside, when we go after the grant, and it would be kind of a matching thing. So, we're not going to discuss that tonight because we really have to get that together. But to reassure you, this is monies out of our account. We haven't frivolously been spending money because we can, but we pretty much held to our budget.
How much money do you put in that fund a year?
We're allowed to put 10% of what
10%?
of what we have left at the end of the year. So
And I don't take credit for the reserves that were there. Those reserves have been there for a very long time. The board prior to me, I know, were extremely stingy, to the point that when I came in there was a lot of computer equipment that was failing. A lot of Trojans were on a couple of the computers. So we really had to use some of that money to bring technology back up to date. So, it's not like we're, taking advantage of the taxpayer and putting money aside from the taxpayer. That's not the case.
You said you can add up to 10% each year?
Mm-hmm.
Have you been able to do that every year pretty much?
consistently. Because we try to keep a tight budget. There are years that it's more challenging.
Okay.
And we, if the budget is reduced for some reason, we can't always do that, but we try to put as much aside as possible.
We've been living within our means of the receipts, of the tax receipts we're getting from our community. We're living within that. We're not having a deficit whatsoever. And that budget is reviewed monthly by the Board of Trustees.
Mr. President, you were concerned about, you were asking about the old skylights, what we're going to do with them. Well, that was discussed in the bidding process, well, kind of after the bidding process. And I just wanted to make sure, I don't know if everybody knew it was clear. They will be taken down, they will be in a scrap condition, meaning they will not be able to be put back together with a lot of work, because that's the way the contractor figured taking them off. And it was quite a bit more to take them off and to save, try to save.
Sure.
To save them, so, okay.
No, it's always easier to
Yeah.
not be quite as careful when you're removing and replacing something.
Get the old Sawzall out and go to it.
And we worry about the liability too. We didn't want the skylights to be hauled off the roof by a crane and then sat in the parking lot.
Right.
There's just too much to gather.
You'd make a nice skateboard
There you go.
attraction. Was there a motion out there to grant it, or is there any more discussion?
There's one thing I would like to bring up, Mr. President, before any motions are made. Since I'm wearing two hats here, and I'm not going to make any sort of motion on this because I've already voted at the library board to approve this project. So I think it's only right and proper for me to, since I am a member of the library board, to recuse myself from voting on this issue. And so once you get a motion and a second, if there is one, I'd like to ask for a roll call vote so that I can recuse myself from voting on this matter.
And be granted.
Mr. President, I will do that too. I feel that I need to abstain from this vote.
Anybody
Because
else?
because my firm.
I understand. I understand. Thank you for being upfront.
I'll move to approve the motion.
We have a motion to approve it. We have a second.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. With that, we'll do a roll call vote.
Yeah.
Let Debbie get caught up.
Mike Winter,
Yes.
Dale Strong,
Present.
Jim Wolf,
Yes.
Russ Sidell,
Yes.
Shirley Nobby.
Yes.
Nobby. Gosh, Shirley Wise.
Yes.
Sure, Molly.
Mark,
Abstain.
and Mark Nobby.
Yes.
Motion carries, ayes have it, 5-2 with 2 abstentions. We appreciate your being upfront, Mr. Flum and Mr. Strong on this.
Thank you.
We can forward this on to the DLGF now, folks, and
Okay.
hopefully within the next couple of weeks,
15 days.
15 days, we'll have everything
See a new room.
cleared and just ready to go to work.
Thank you.
We have no transfers, so we will move on to additionals. The Motorola equipment. So 911's requesting $9,730 plus another $2,000. $9,730 is for Motorola equipment. And there's another $2,000 for equipment. Total of all funds is $11,730.
Mr. President,
Yes.
I can speak to the appropriation request from 911 if anyone would like to hear it.
Why don't you go ahead and explain that, please?
Yes.
Our director had another obligation. She had P2, so this request is to cover our annual maintenance contract with the ERS, a company called ERS, for the maintenance and upkeep of all the equipment and property from the control room clear to the tower for our 911 dispatch system. Our contract, our annual contract for this year is $17,230. Now, for the last 2 years, when the council has set the budget for 911, we have only appropriated $7,500 each year, which is, for some reason or another, we know is never going to be enough to cover it. So every year we have to do an additional appropriation to cover that request. So for 2013, actually our 2013 cost for this same maintenance contract was more. It was $17,626.50. For this year it's $17,230, down a little bit. But that's the reason for the request. We simply didn't appropriate the amount of money that we knew that 911 would need to meet this obligation. So there's a bill laying on the desk over there waiting to be paid, and we are obligated to pay it. So
Did Terry ask for that amount of money when she brought the budget, when we had her in the budget hearing? Did she ask for the 17,000?
I don't know that,
Huh?
I'm not sure. I can look that up if you would like.
well,
Doesn't make much difference, but I mean,
yeah,
there's no sense trying to do a budget and we don't put enough in there if the director knew that was gonna go up.
well, it didn't go, it went down this year, Russ. But next time we put a budget together for that department, we might as well put
She
enough.
asked for 7,500.
She asked for
You asked for
7,500?
7,500?
Yep, that was the
Okay.
budget request.
Well,
Do you have any idea how she came up with that? Was that from previous years or?
I have no clue.
Okay.
No, because Dale said it's always been like 17,000.
Yeah.
So, since she's not here to
97.
speak to why, maybe she was thinking of some funds coming from something else to fill in the rest of it, I don't know.
well, this amount does come out of her wireless fund. This is not county general money, that it comes out of the 911 to wireless fund. So that's that little fee you pay on your phone bill every month.
And you're saying we're obligated to pay?
I'm just saying that if it's the price, the director should be asking for what we should be getting in that budget.
Yeah,
Where,
okay.
I mean, I know it comes out of the wireless.
I think this is things that we can address when we meet with these department heads.
Yeah.
We've been
Prior
doing this
to
for a
the-
couple, 3 years.
Make
We
sure that-
appropriated last year, I suppose.
That would be my guess.
Okay. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve or whatever.
I'll move to approve the
There's a
additional.
motion on the floor, is there a second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve in the amount of $9,700, is that what it is? Yes.
$9,700.
$9,730. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Ayes have it, motion carries. Since you're on a roll, do you want to speak to this, or Debbie, do you want to speak to this $2,000?
Now, this is, last year, we had appropriated some money, equipment money, in the auditor's ineligible deductions. And that's for anyone that's claiming a deduction that they weren't allowed for, and we could go back 3 years, and then that can be used for things for the auditor's office, and this isn't county general money. And I'm requesting $2,000. I need a couple filing cabinets, and I want to get some shelving units for our files, for our file boxes, and probably need some down in the basement. And that's what I'm asking for this for. And I didn't use the money, all the money that was appropriated last year. I think I only used $600 of it, so that's what I'm asking for.
So Debbie, you haven't got any kind of quotes yet on what what the cost of the file cabinets might be?
No.
So just a guess what you think?
Yeah, I just appropriated that. I also would like to see if, I think other auditors have used the ineligible deduction money also for things for, I was wanting to see if we could get some kind of, we had our microphones, it didn't work, and wanted to see what the cost of that would be, which might in all probability be more than that, but there is more money in that fund, to see if maybe I could do something like that in here in this room and not use other funds, to try to get something, because the biggest complaint I hear from people attending the meetings are that they can't hear people. And I sit up here, and when you were talking a little bit ago, Mark, I couldn't hear you at all. So it is an issue, even though it's not a very big room, but you just can't hear. We need to get something that won't compete with the TV either, so.
How much you got in that fund?
No, what was on there? Bethany made this up for me, she didn't put the amount. It seemed to me like there was $8,000 and some dollars in there. Maybe $10,000.
With that figure that you want covered for getting the microphones too and the other stuff?
Well, I only asked for 2. I'd want to get quotes on that before I seen how much,
She said she didn't know if she was,
I'm not sure. Let me see, 1222, it'll tell you on here what's in there. No, that's hers. That's mine. Sorry. 1216. 9,000. It's just, I think that might be for. 8,632.97 is what's in there.
so we put microphones in here when this is renovated and they've never worked.
Well, they were just hit and miss on whether they would work or not. You almost had to have it right in your face for it to work.
Sounds like a good investment we made.
Well, that's our IT guy's job, ain't it?
Yeah, I was gonna talk to him about it. If even we could have, is there such a thing as wireless? We came up in technology in the world.
I would probably recommend against wireless. I would most likely look for a desktop stand mic that's unidirectional to the speaker with a mute button on it for your purposes. But just a rough guess, that money that you're talking about appropriating tonight would not be enough to.
Oh, I'm
to
sure
cover
it
that.
wouldn't, but there is some more. Could
Right.
it be done for 5,000?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Most definitely.
Well,
Yeah, just get with me and we'll put something
if
together.
you could, propose something and see how much it would cost.
Sure.
Because that would be a good way, good use of that, that wouldn't have to touch other monies.
Debbie, at home, I use plastic totes for my filing system and the PhD system. You mean that won't work for your office?
Could you bring them in and we'll give them a try?
Okay, you know what the PhD system is, don't you?
Pilot high and deep.
That's right. Then find it if you can.
Okay, if there's no more serious questions, we'll entertain a motion to approve.
I'll move to approve it.
We have a motion, we have a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries.
Debbie, you ought to at least get one tape.
Okay, 144s, County General Jail. No.
The sheriff is not here, unfortunately, but he's asked me to come over and ask for the 144 for a female jail officer. We had one quit about a month ago, and I think he called everybody, and we have hired somebody, and she's in her 3rd day of training right now, but we just gotta get the 144 approved.
Any discussion? Billy's called everybody and talked to them, I believe.
Yeah.
Okay, we ready to make a motion?
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion, we have a second?
I'll second the
Is there a
motion.
motion to approve? Jim? Is a motion to approve? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it.
Thank you.
Hey, you're not done yet.
One more?
You got a full-time cook.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, the cook,
Yeah.
yes. That's
If not,
technically,
we're gonna
They're
head
not
to
gonna like
that.
technically the commissioners are in charge of the kitchen, so we're gonna have them do it, but since they're not here, the sheriff has spoke with the female, and she's going to start part-time, I believe, next weekend. And then when she retires as a bus driver on the 28th of May, she will go to full-time. And then there's
That's why, the other explanation on the full-time cook, when, on the starting wage scale for, on part-time cook was $8.72 an hour. And if you take that times 40 hours a week, and you took the starting wage scale, which I think goes back to before they were 40-hour a week, cook 2, which starting scale at 16,328, she would make more working part-time than she would have worked working full-time. So we discussed this, I discussed this with the commissioners, and then also Kathy and I discussed it, and we think that it would be best to just have one. You have your jail cook supervisor with the starting salary, and then have just the cook, and both the cooks make the same, I mean, they do the same duties. And then, so that would be to move, so when the cook that left, she was actually cook 1 that had a starting salary of $18,512, and the cook 2 that will now be moving up into the cook 1 position with a starting salary of $18,512, so she would get the difference. It would give her a salary bump when you do the calculation to $21,712, and then start the new cook at $18,512, and just eliminate that cook 1 and cook 2, because the reasoning behind that, having two different differentiating, there is none, is there really? I
No,
mean, it's
there
just the shifts they work, they all do the same work.
I think it was just a seniority thing.
Yeah.
Why aren't you gonna hire this gal full-time now and just work her the hours
She's
that she
working for the
needs?
bus company.
Yeah,
She's bus driver.
Yeah, I know
She currently has a bus
but she
route.
only worked part-time.
Yeah, she's only
But she
gonna
would
work,
be, would be a full-time employee after she retires from the driving the bus.
after she gets done on May
And you're only gonna work her
28th.
so many hours anyhow and pay her by the hour. And why aren't we hiring her as a full-time now instead of coming back?
She can't go full-time.
I know she's not going to go
Until May
full-time, but you're only
28th.
gonna work her so many hours anyhow, right?
Yeah, that's why we put the part-time, so we'll have an hourly rate to pay her at.
Keep it part-time all the time.
Because when she goes to full-time,
Just
that's when her
full-time,
benefits and all would go into
10 hours
effect.
a week if that's all she works. And she started as a full-time cook, but she only works part-time right now.
Well,
So we
what was
gotta come
that?
back and hire her as a full-time cook.
Do what now?
Don't we have to come back and hire her as a full-time cook?
Who's that?
Whoever you were hiring here, at part-time?
That's the same person. We're gonna pay him part-time until she gets done with her bus route on the 28th.
Right.
And I kind of admired that, because she wanted to finish out her bus route because she was gonna have perfect attendance.
Well, I
That's
think,
not-
what I'm saying
other
is
than
that you
don't
can
have-
hire this lady full-time and
Full-time.
only work her
Usually
3 or 4
part-time.
hours a week if that's all you want, and then you pay her by the hour. But now, we're gonna have to come back, he's gonna have to come back, aren't you?
No, we put it all on the same one.
We put it all in the same
Yeah, it's on
one?
the same.
Yeah, we put 872 down here part-time, and then,
I see that down.
but the reason,
You
Russ,
gotta take out her fear.
I think the reason is because when she goes to full-time, that's when we'll start taking out for PERV. That's when she'll get those other benefits for being a full-time employee. But I see your point, Russ.
You're gonna go 18 on the full-time, is that it?
Yeah, 18,512, and they do work a 40-hour week. And the other cook, remaining cook, which she had been cook
Was two,
so she
now be
would
one.
bump, so she would get an increase in pay. I think she's been there
8 years maybe?
7 or 8 years, I think we looked.
Any further discussion? So I'd like to make a motion.
I'll move to approve this 144.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
A second?
Been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thanks.
Thank you.
Fayette County Health Department for, looks like part-time clerical at $8.42 an hour.
And nobody's here to speak to that, I don't think, and I am not comfortable explaining anything about that, so.
Somebody want to table it?
I move that we table this request until someone from the health department can come and speak to the council.
We have a motion to table.
I'll second Shirley's
Second.
motion.
Second to table. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. We'll table this till next month. Last but not least, our beloved IT department. Thank you for being patient.
No problem. We are also here for a 144. At your last meeting, you appropriated money out of the 911 funds, and the Community Corrections Board approved money out of their grant. We're asking for an hourly wage of $14.50 an hour, with the understanding that this is a more specialized position. It's highly technical. The average salary, according to the Board of Labor Statistics, .gov, is actually $23.50 per hour for this position type. So we're definitely on the low end of the scale, but the applicants that we had, that we've interviewed, have been comfortable at that $14.50 pay rate. So be happy to answer any questions.
Ben, what's the intent, or as far as the number of hours per week?
24 hours per week.
24? And that'll satisfy the commitments we made with the probation department and the community corrections?
Yes.
The other ones that
Currently,
might be
right now, there's some question from the State Board of Accounts concerning the money from probation, if this is a usable fee, so we're still working that out. Debbie's been working with the State Board of Accounts, figuring that out. The 24 hours per week would be enough to satisfy community corrections and 911.
Is this guy gonna be shared with the city too?
No, sir. No, this would be just strictly county.
Ben, when you get caught up and he'll get laid off, when you get caught up with the work?
That is definitely, I mean, we have funded the position through the end of this year, and so at that point it would become a budget issue for next year. There's obviously some advantages to having a second person on staff. It allows me to actually take some time off. Obviously, that's a selfish motive. I'll deny that. But yes, once the backlog was complete, there might be an issue where issues start creeping up again, especially in a couple years when we have to start replacing equipment again. That's inevitable, but again, this money was appropriated for this year, and we haven't really talked about next budget. Yeah.
Ben, how long have you been working for the county?
Since February 2012.
About average, what do you think your hours are?
Averaging right almost close to 60 hours a week.
Okay, and has that been pretty steady?
Yeah, I mean, there's a month here and there where it wasn't as bad, but.
A month?
Yeah.
It's not much of a break.
No, and going in, we understood that there was going to be a lot of work up front. We've replaced every computer in the courthouse, every network switch, almost every server. And when you have to tackle those large projects, the day-to-day health tickets tend to get behind. So it's just it's an uphill battle that one person really can't do on their own. So.
And there's no saying what the city's demands are still going to be placed upon you.
Right.
So you're still having to fulfill that obligation.
Correct.
Which leaves nobody here, which the part-time guys going to be able to do.
Correct.
So.
We also have the Odyssey implementation coming up while my
My time won't be necessarily needed. There's going to be a lot after the state trainers leave for Odyssey. There's probably going to be a lot of support in the clerk and judicial offices for there. So,
Which you've also been tasked with now, dealing with the police department, with the
correct.
computers, scanners, printers, to the sheriff's department. Hopefully that will grow and be a little bit more robust for both departments.
Sure.
So that's being placed upon you too. So your demands are gonna be even more dependent upon.
I agree.
So I don't see how, working in that field myself, how one person can fulfill all those obligations. So that's something we need to take into consideration, that he's got a family too.
How many hours do you spend being over to city?
I probably
on the
average weekly, I'd be comfortable saying about 15 hours a week. They're obviously not as intricate a system as over here. We have a lot of different departments using a lot of different pieces of software. The city's much more confined to a couple systems, and a lot of their work is done strictly just on online applications, so not near the server load over there that we have here.
Are you, we're using Microsoft Office?
Yes.
What version are we on?
2007.
2007. So what happens when we get current, we go to 2013? Who's responsible for that training?
It's all on me.
That's what I thought. So how can you do that with one person?
Which is why I'm here requesting.
Exactly. I'm kind of just, there's more to it than just setting up a laptop. There's the software that you have to maintain. So to prematurely say that we're going to be laying off a part-time person, I think is very presumptuous on our part right now, when we don't even know the full scope of what he does. So
I think it needs to be brought up at budget time in July. He's talking about the end of the year, that this thing may have to come back to us at the end of the year because of probation.
Right. Currently right now.
That needs to be brought up at budget time if you're going to do that, to budget that in there for next year.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with Russ. Because you're after right now just to get through this year.
This year, right.
Correct. Yeah, at the last meeting, we appropriated enough funds to get the part-time position filled for the rest of this year.
I was saying, some things that we have to think about, that it's more than just
I agree
a
with
laptop. There's, I know from being in that field, it's crazy. Just, you could spend 80 hours a week. There's never enough time.
We may have to opt out with the city.
Well, I think the commissioners have talked about that, but that's their deal.
They paid for this year, so I guess that's a thought going forward.
Yeah. Exactly.
Is there any more questions for Ben? If not, we'll entertain a motion to either approve or...
I got one question. We talked about opting out the city down the road next year. If we did that, do you think you could handle this here by yourself?
It would be much more manageable.
Okay. Okay. All right.
Any more questions? No. Now we'll entertain a motion.
I move that we approve the 144 request for $14.50 per hour for approximately 24 hours per week for the IT department.
We have a motion, we have a second?
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Motion carries. Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Did you second that? You seconded that.
Martin did. Mark Navi. Patron concerns. I know we have one concern here about rumors that are swirling about in our community.
Did we carry?
Yeah.
We have jail officer.
I'm Jesse Sorrell, I work for Fayette County EMS. And there's a lot of rumors going on that you guys are trying to outsource, going with one guy, Nathan. I'm not gonna bash him. I don't want to, and God would want me to. But all I ask is that you compare apples to apples with this. I don't know how much you guys paid, and I don't know how much you received back. A couple of you guys, we've been to your houses, we've worked on your people. Nathan's been in business 6 months. We've been in business 50 years. You guys know this. Our least qualified EMT's got at least 10 to 12 years' experience. Nathan is right now hiring people out of Rushville Academy that hadn't even graduated yet. Like I said, I'm not going to bash him. He's a good guy. I worked with him at hospital. But before you guys make a decision like that, think about what happened in Rushville and think about what happened in Union County. I was working for the hospital, both of those, and it'll turn out bad. That's all I got to say.
So your name was again?
Jesse Sorrell.
Jesse. Jesse Sorrell.
Yeah, I know. Who's Nathan? I'm trying to get the minutes.
He's St. Clair.
Nathan St. Clair, yeah.
I had someone stop in and ask me questions very cryptically, and from a woman. I guess her name was St. Clair.
Right.
And I didn't.
Well, someone has been talking.
Nathan's a nice guy. I worked with him.
I got to
nothing
run
bad to say
around.
about him.
I got to run around on, I thought, on what she was actually asking.
But you guys are going to get a lot less experience. I know Jim and Russ, we both worked on you guys and your family and everything. Would you want a brand new EMT, or would you want somebody with 10 years?
I know what you're saying. He's been in and talked to me, so.
Okay, I mean, I just want to make it aware, compare apples to apples.
I know that there's been an individual or two that has approached St. Clair, and just remind the council, that's not our role, that's the commissioner's role to do contracts and with that. So.
You need to go talk to the committee, make sure.
Well, I understand that, but you guys' opinions really matter to us too. We're going to come to your house if you're down. We want you to understand that. Like I said, I could say more, but I'm not going to bash Nathan.
I just was trying to piece together, I had a very cryptic, stopped in the office actually on Monday, and very cryptic about what they wanted and what they wanted it for, and it's really hard for me, everything is public record, but I didn't even know what they were asking about, so I was kind of caught off guard, and I didn't know.
We were too, that's why I'm here. I just want to is that what's going on? I know a couple names were mentioned, but I'm not going to mention them here. Are you guys looking into that?
I will tell you this, I met with Nathan today. I got a call today. I got a call Monday, I think, Monday or Tuesday. And I met with him today at 3:30. And he laid out how he came here and everything.
Right.
And that's all he's informed of, and he just wanted to see if he could, and I said, well, here's what I was going to do. I was going to approach the commissioners, the mayor, city council, and this council to just set up a closed meeting, basically, initially a closed meeting, just to talk with him and see what his proposal is, okay? And then, if they felt, that group felt that it was worth pursuing after everything was researched, then it would come in front of the full council, both councils, come in front of the mayor and the commissioners, and then talk about it. And that would be an open meeting, and anybody would be allowed to come to that. And that's all I can tell you. But I just found out about it today, and I think Mr. Wolf directed my name to him.
Yeah, I told him, he come to me, and I'm going to talk to Mr. Flum.
Okay. I mean, I've got no hard feelings here at all. I'm just trying to, I'm blindsided with it. I lost my job at Visteon, I got another job at EMS, and I'm about to lose this one. I want to know what's coming before it gets there. So
that's where we're at right now. That's all I can tell you right now. I haven't had a chance. I just met with him at 3:30 this afternoon.
Okay.
And I think unless the commissioners request it and they pursue it, it doesn't really matter what we say or what we think.
Right.
Yeah, it doesn't make any difference to us. I mean, it's commissioner's call.
I understand that,
Yeah.
but it's important to us.
Sure.
We like to have the public's backing. And you said the department heads. I know we're a little different. We're county, city, both. Would that include our commander?
I don't believe so, because they report to the city, don't they?
Right.
Yeah, they report to the city, so, I mean, we can't talk to them maybe with the commissioner's permission about some things, but you had shared with me earlier, but again, that falls strictly in the lap of the commissioners, and I'm not gonna, go play in their backyard or pretend to know what
understand
what they're doing, so.
I was just curious, because you know, we're kind of on both sides here, but we only get to play ball on one side of the fence. you know. Okay. All right, thank you.
You have not spoken to the commission about this yet?
Have not, well, I don't think Dale has. We haven't. I haven't personally.
Okay.
I don't know who Dale's talked to.
Well, I mean, you haven't, nobody's talked to the commissioners at a commissioners meeting about
No,
it? Okay.
not that I know of.
All right.
That's why that caught me off guard.
Okay.
And I didn't, and I think she was trying to get at, well, like, how much did we spend for calls in the county? And I'm saying, we don't do it that way. You know, it's, you know, they pay everybody's salary and pay all the expenses.
But do you guys get a revenue of what we bring in?
Well, what they do is they take half of that is billed to us minus half the revenue, and that's what we pay back to the city. And you know.
And I've heard it mentioned that we're looking for bids for outsourcing. That is not true. To my knowledge, the commission's not saying they weren't looking for bids.
No one is,
for
I
that,
haven't
so
heard
that
that mentioned
That is not true. That's a false statement. So if anybody's turning bids, they're turning them into nobody because we're not looking for bids.
Well, you know, snowflake turns into a snowball.
I know. So appreciate you coming and asking us, and
I appreciate you giving me time.
you're welcome.
Thank you.
If there's no other patron concerns,
Yes, I would like to make a motion that when we get our draw in June, that we replace at least one half of that Cume Cap Bridge Fund that we borrowed from.
I was already gonna do that.
Okay,
I had, you know, I don't know, you can make it in the form of
Shoot.
motion, but
Well, I was
I
gonna-
had already sat down with Warren, we went over all the numbers.
Okay.
And he is gonna need it based on that bridge number 61 that we've let. So just to have a cushion in that fund, we were planning on doing that already.
Okay, should we, but if you're gonna do it, that's okay, but should we do it as a motion? I mean,
she's
You
gonna do it.
can, if you wanna have it on the record, I was gonna do it anyway, but it doesn't
okay,
matter.
well, I'll make that motion, and if anybody wants a second.
Second.
Moved and seconded to make sure Debbie does what she's supposed to do. Wants to say it?
That's a good idea.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it, motion carries for her to be good.
Who seconded that?
Well,
Yeah.
Okay. If there's no other business to be brought before the council?
One other thing,
Be sure she.
Mr. President, that 144 for jail officer I passed down there, was that one we had to do tonight, or?
That's the one that Zach brought to us. 22,241, we just started to pay for jail officer. And they're hiring a female jail officer because they have one.
Okay, did I get the female jail officer mixed up with the female cook? Is that what I did?
You may have. And
Okay,
I have a few things to be signed too,
My
so
mistake.
no one runs off.
I didn't want you to leave without getting all this taken care of.
You got to really impress me to get rid of you.
Nothing, I have nothing
If
further.
there's nothing further,
I don't know, 'cause
gentlemen,
yes.
we could bring this meeting to a close if we can, in the side discussions. If there's nothing else to be brought before the council, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion.
Second.
So moved second, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes
Don't
have
run
it.
Yeah.
Run off, there's things to
Signatures.
sign.